Good afternoon, folks. I'm Dave Canterbury with Self-Reliance Outfitters in the Pathfinder School. What we're going to do today is we're going to make a swing arm cook set from natural material that will allow us to hang a pot over the fire, adjust it height-wise up and down, and swing it in and out of the fire as well. Something simple like this coffee can with a bail put in it would work fine, or any bush pot or bucket that we have. Now, the wood selection on this is not a major factor. Although for your supporting piece, it's better if you have a long grain type hardwood, because we're going to want to strip this down to a very thin veneer and bend it around and then lash it together to make a loop. So what we want is, we have to be kind of particular with this piece because we want a fork here and we also want a fork here. So you may have to look a little while to find just the right piece of wood for that. And then we need a supporting stick that will go in the ground. And when we're done, this piece will sit here. This one we left long intentionally because we're going to strip down to about right here. And then we're going to wrap that around and lash it here so that it actually will hang here about like this. And we can put our pot then out here over the fire, and it should rotate around this stick. Now we can also put a couple notches in the supporting stick that will allow us to rest this in a notch and then move it up and down to adjust it height-wise over the fire, which is an improvement over the ones that I've seen written in the old-time books and things like that. And I've only seen one illustration of this wrapping technique in a book, and that's why I decided to try it today. But they didn't have any notches in the stick. I think the one I saw had a knot right here that this was resting on. But I think if we put some notches in here, we should be able to adjust this up and down to get height adjustments as well as the adjustment in and out from the fire. So that's what we're going to work on today. So we need a good supporting pole. We'll just put a point on that and round the top of it off so we can pound it into the ground. This one's the one we really have to work on. And we need to decide where we're going to strip this down for our bend. And it just so happens that I've got a knot right here in about the right place for it to lay level. And I've got another knot back here, and I can cut this knot off with a saw, and that will leave me enough to strip down to make my wrap. That's my plan. So let's go ahead and get started with that. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and take a saw. We're going to cut this off to the length we decided we needed, which is about right here. Again, cut these pieces long when you're out in the woods. When you get it back to camp, you won't have to worry about it being too short. And we know that we're going to do our wrap here and come around. So what we're going to do is we're going to strip everything here back to a very thin layer. And we could do that a couple different ways. We can start with a hatchet to give ourselves mass material removal pretty fast. Or we could just use a good knife. But I'm going to come up here with a hatchet on this thing and remove some of the bulk material off of it with a hatchet. Just like this. And we want to keep that pretty well straight in line with this piece here. Starting to look pretty good now. It's getting nice and flexible. Again, if we don't want to crack it, we really need to get it wet and start to bend it slowly. Okay. Do a little bit of cutting toward myself here with a controlled grip, just to kind of take out some of this final edge here. I've got this thing so it's hitting me in the gut, and there ain't no way it can slip into me while I'm doing this. Alright, so while our piece is soaking, we can start to work on this end, and all we're going to do is just kind of bullnose this over on the top to make sure that when we pound on it, it doesn't mushroom out too bad. for the moment. We'll cut our notches after we get everything else finished up and see exactly where we want things. For now, we just want to get this shaped up. We'll put a little bit of a point on the other end of it. It doesn't have to be anything drastic unless you're going into really hard ground. Even then, you don't want a drastic point on it because you just smash it out anyway. Okay, when you get ready to start bending this thing, just find a corner or something and start to bend it on the end and just start working it around a little bit at a time. And if you hit a thick spot where you feel it's a hinge, like I can see right here, it's bending up here, but it's not bending here. So I've got a little bit of a hinge right here, and that's very much like a bow limb where you've got to take some more material out of it. So just figure out where that spot's at and remove a little bit of the material out of there with your knife and thin it out a little bit more. Get a little spot that lifts up on you on the back side. When your grain tries to lift up on you a little bit, don't worry too much about that. You can always cut that off of there and stop that runoff. A little bitty spot right there. It's trying to raise up a little bit. And just keep working it with your hands. There's still a little spot right there that's kind of hingy. I need to get a little bit more material out of. This is just a game of patience now, more than anything else. All right, we got this bending now, about to where we want it. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take this line, get a timber hitch put in it real quick. So I've got something to draw down against, or draw down on, I guess is the word for it. I'm going to fold this over, pull it into here, and I'm going to draw it down right here to the shape I want it, which is about like, oop, kind of slipped out on me there a little bit. Kind of trying to split on me a little bit there. Kind of split into two pieces right here. I don't think that's going to make a bit of a difference, to tell you the truth. That split out right there, you can see there's a little split right there. Like I said, I don't think it's going to make a bit of difference. And we're just going to end this thing with a clove hitch real quick. Alright, so we have tightened up our loop a little bit now, so we're sitting more level, and we have trimmed our fork off. It was quite a bit longer than it needed to be. And now we have an adjustable cook system that we can easily hang a pot on, and we can swing it on and off the fire. And we can also adjust the height up and down wherever we want it as well. We can put a couple notches in here if we want to. That will allow us to hold the pot in certain positions. This stake here is a little bit longer than it needs to be right now. We could pound it into the ground further, but this was just for a quick demo. We probably aren't going to ever have to be any higher than something like this off the fire anyway, to be honest with you, if we got a fire going, so we could pound, that thing another foot into the ground and make it a lot more stable. I'm Dave Canterbury with Self-Reliance Outfitters in the Pathfinder School. I appreciate you joining for this video today. I thank you for everything you do for our school, for our family, and for our business, all of our sponsors, instructors, affiliates, and friends, and I'll be back with another video as soon as I can. Thanks, guys.